The first thing you need to know before going to Japan is if you need a visa, and if you're British, American, Canadian or Australian or from any of the countries that I will leave you on the screen, then congratulations, you don't need a visa as long as you're staying in Japan less than 90 days and you're not gonna be earning any money, so as long as you're going as a tourist. If this is your case, you just need a valid passport and that's all. But if it is not, then you will have to apply for a tourist visa. Normally the procedure is not too complex, but I will leave you on the description a link to the website where you can check the official requirements to apply for your visa. Another topic that was really important till last year, but luckily is not anymore, is COVID. The Japanese government lifted all the COVID requirements, I think it was June last year, so now you don't need either a vaccination proof or a negative COVID test to enter Japan. But even if you don't need a visa or any COVID-related documents to enter Japan, something that I would advise you to do is to register in the Visit Japan web, which is a web that the Japanese government developed, I think 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, where you can enter all the documents and information that they require at immigration, like when are you entering Japan, when are you leaving, where will you be staying, or the flight number. You can enter it there, and then if everything's fine, you get a QR code and you can go through the fast line at immigration when you arrive to Japan. And then you just show the QR code and it's so much faster and smoother. So I would really recommend that you do this, because if you don't, then you will have to give them the same information, only you will have to fill it in a paper sheet that they give you there, and you will have to go through the slow line. So it is the same, only more trouble. So the next thing you need to know is when you want to travel and which is the best season to travel to Japan. And to be honest, I think all seasons have advantages and disadvantages. So I will explain the pros and cons of each season so that you can choose the best one for you. Japan is a pretty big country, but I think if we focus in the main island, Honshu, we can sum it up pretty well. And we start with winter, and as you can imagine, the biggest disadvantage of traveling to Japan in winter is the weather, but another pretty big disadvantage are the hours of sunlight, since sunrise is pretty late and sunset is pretty early. But on the other hand, the biggest advantage of winter is that it is considered low season, so everything is cheaper and less crowded. Moving on to spring, this is one of the most popular seasons to travel to Japan, and the reason for this is Sakura, or the cherry blossom season, which takes place in spring, but the exact time when this happens varies depending on the year and the weather. And this is one of the seasons when there are more people visiting Japan, so everything is crowded. And next we have summer, and I think the biggest disadvantage of summer is without any doubt the weather. It is really hot in Japan and also very humid, so it is not the best season to go explore and visit monuments, especially if you want to spend a lot of time outside. So unless you plan to spend a lot of time indoors in museums or shops, I don't think this is the best season to travel. It is also peak season in Japan, so there are a lot of tourists and everything is more expensive. But on the other hand, the biggest advantages is that you have a lot of hours of sunlight, and also that there are a lot of summer festivals. And last but not least, we have autumn. The first time I traveled to Japan, when I was working there, I was there from summer to winter, and autumn was definitely my favorite season. That's why this year we traveled to Japan in autumn again, and this is mainly because of Kojo or Memoji, which is how the Japanese call the autumn colors, and it's the season when all the leaves of the trees get these beautiful colors. It is a little bit difficult to plan your trip to go and see it when they are reaching the red peak, because it varies depending on the weather of the year, but I think it's totally worth it. And also another advantage of traveling to Japan in autumn is that the weather is really nice. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and it is also not rainy season as, for example, summer. But on the other hand, the biggest disadvantage is that there are a lot of people visiting in this season. Not as many as in summer or in Sakura, but there are many people, so everything is crowded and everything is a little bit more expensive. There are no mandatory vaccines to travel to Japan. However, there is a list of vaccines that are really recommended, especially if you're not gonna stay only in big cities and you're gonna be traveling around the countryside or smaller islands. So I leave you here the list of recommended vaccines, but what I would recommend is that you go visit your doctor and you check with them if you need to get any vaccines, any shots or not. And related to this, there's a topic of health insurance, travel insurance when you're visiting Japan. This is not mandatory, it's not a requirement to enter the country, however, it is really recommended. In fact, when you enter the country and you are in the line for immigration, you will see a lot of signs recommending you to get a travel insurance, a health insurance, and warning you about the high cost of any small medical procedure if you don't have one. So I would recommend you check online and you get one before going to Japan. And last, a final advice related to this is that you bring your own first aid kit with medicines or things you think you might need for two main reasons. The first one is that in Japan, not everybody speaks English, so if you go to the pharmacy, maybe the staff won't be able to understand you, and also you won't be able to find anything by yourself if you don't speak Japanese, because all the products have everything written only in Japanese. It's very weird to find something that has something written in English, so even buying shampoo is difficult if you don't speak Japanese. And the second reason is that the ingredients and the composition of medication, makeup, cosmetics is different there, since not the same ingredients are legal in Japan and in other countries. So if you buy something, it may contain an ingredient that is not legal in your country, you have never tried, and you could be allergic to and not know it. A topic that I didn't cover in my last video and that some people ask me about is in which areas I would recommend to stay in. So now I will give you my recommendations for Tokyo, Osaka and Kyoto. I will start with Tokyo, and to be honest, Tokyo is such a big city and you will probably want to move around a lot and visit all the different areas in the city. So there's not a specific area I would recommend. I'd say in Tokyo you want to be close to a food station, and the biggest ones and the best connected ones are Shibuya, Shinjuku, Shinagawa and Tokyo Station. So I think if you have a hotel that is close to any of these stations, that's a pretty good location, although it is probably one of the most expensive locations in the city. So if you want to keep it on a lower budget, what I would recommend you do is that you find a hotel near any of the stations of the lines of Tokyo Metro that I consider are the best in Tokyo, which are the Yamanote line for the train and the Ginza line for the metro. I think with those lines you can go to all the areas and neighborhoods you want to visit as a tourist, so if you are near any of those stations, I don't think you will have any problems to move around, and you will find a lot of restaurants and hotels near any of them, and probably they will be more affordable than the ones near Shibuya, Shinjuku, Tokyo Station or Shinagawa. But if money is not a concern for you, then I would say that my favorite areas in Tokyo are Ginza, Minato and then Shibuya, but not near the crossing itself, but closer to Harajuku and Minashita Park. But this varies a lot depending on what you want to see, so I will leave you a map of what I think you can expect of each of the cities in Tokyo. In Osaka, I think the best area is Namba for many reasons. The first one, that is really well connected with public transportation, but you can also easily walk to all the most touristic places in Osaka, and you also have a lot of restaurants and shops. The only problem with this area is that it can be a little bit loud at night, since there is always people in the streets, especially the closer you get to Dotonbori. So if you want some other alternatives that are more affordable, then I would recommend the areas, let's see if I can pronounce it right, of Kita-Tenoji and Umeda, which are really well connected. They are not as central as Namba, but they have really good connections with public transportation, and you can find there a lot of options for hotels, and most of them more affordable than Namba. And if you're going to Universal Studios, another area that I would recommend for you is the area of Osaka Bay, since it is closer to the park and you won't have to wake up that early to go there. And those are the areas that I recommend in Osaka, but there is one that I wouldn't recommend that much, and that is the neighborhood near Osaka Castle. And the reason why I don't recommend it is because there's nothing there, there's not that many restaurants or anything, it is a little bit isolated, it is more expensive only because Osaka Castle is there. So I would avoid that one. And last but not least, we have Kyoto. And what many people do there is they book hotels near monuments they want to visit, so that they can be there really early in the morning and avoid all the crowds. But this is something we've never done because in Kyoto there's a lot to see and the monuments are spread around the city. So even if you're close to one, you would be very far to others. But if you have a favorite monument that you would like to see early in the morning to be able to take pictures without the crowds, then this may be interesting for you. And in this case, I would recommend you to check the area of Arashiyama where the bamboo group is, but just for one night so that you can go there early in the morning and avoid the crowds, and after that go back to the city and stay in another hotel there because Arashiyama is very beautiful, but there's not that much to see there besides the forest. Another interesting area if you want to do this is Higashiyama. There are a lot of temples there and there's more to see than in Arashiyama. There is also a lot of restaurants and shops and it is more central. Although the connection in this area with public transportation is not that good because since the streets are so narrow, there are no metro train stations, there's only bus. What we've done both times we've been in Kyoto is staying at Sanjo. Sanjo is a very central neighborhood as well. There are not many monuments in the neighborhood, but it is very well connected with train and bus with all main touristic attractions in Kyoto. So I think it's a very good compromise, and in this neighborhood you will find a lot of cafes, restaurants and shops. So you have everything you'll need. And now a little break to tell you about Alpaka, which is a brand we've been working with for the last few months. We took their backpacks to Japan and we loved them. They are made of sustainable materials and their quality is amazing. So I'm gonna leave you the link to their website on the description so that you can check all their products. And another topic that I wanted to tell you about is the consulting services we are offering. If you're traveling to Japan for your honeymoon, alone, with friends, with kids, and you need help, you have questions, or you want someone to make sure that everything is taken care of, then you can go to the description. I will leave you our contact information there, and we can help you prepare and take care of everything for you. In my past video, I already explained everything about public transportation in Japan and how to move around. But I wanted to come back to this topic to talk about the JR Pass. Because last year in September, the prices increased. There were already a lot of questions in the past video about when is the JR Pass worth it. So now that the prices are higher, it's even more complicated. So I'm gonna leave you on the description a link to a calculator where you can check the prices of the individual tickets for all the trips that you are gonna make, and also check the price of the JR Pass and compare and see if they are worth it. Normally the JR Pass was worth it if you were taking at least 2 trips with the bullet train a week. I think now if you are not taking 3 trips with the bullet train a week, it's not worth it, but you can check it there, and if you have any questions you can ask me on the comment section. I think having internet connection in Japan is totally essential, especially if you don't speak Japanese. So if you want to have connection on your phone, then you have several options. But the first thing you need to decide is if you just want to have internet connection or if you want to have signal on a Japanese number as well. If that is the case and you want to have a Japanese number, then I explained everything you need to know in the video I did last year, so you can check it there. But if you don't want to have signal on your phone or a Japanese number, then it's a little bit easier and you have several options as well. The first one and the most useful if you want to have several devices connected is to have a mobile hotspot. And the second one is to have a SIM where you can just have internet, no calls. Those I covered in the video I did last year, so you can check it on the video in the minutes I leave you here. And then the third option, and the one we used in our last trip to Japan, is to buy eSIMs. which are digital SIM cards that you can buy in your home country and install before taking off. And then when you land in Japan, you just have to activate them and you have internet right away, which is really convenient, especially if you need to translate anything during immigration procedures. So I would really recommend it. We have used 2 companies in our trips to Japan and other countries, and we would recommend both of them. I would say you can choose one or another depending on how much data you will need, because one of them offers unlimited data and the other one you just buy as many gigabytes as you think you're gonna use. But I would recommend them both. The only problem with these SIMs is that you cannot use them with all devices, but if you have an iPhone that is newer than an iPhone 12, you should be fine. If you've been to Japan, you know that Suica and Pasmo cards are total essentials there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I explained everything about these cards in my previous video, so you can check it there. But in this one, I wanted to update a couple of things about the cards. And the reason is that for the past few months in Japan, there's been a shortage of these cards, the physical traditional card, because there's a shortage of the chips they use to manufacture them. But there are some alternatives. The first one is that you get a welcome Suica or a welcome Pasmo, which I explained how to get them in the previous video. But if you don't want to do this, or when you go to the airport you don't find them, what happened to us last time we went in Japan, what you can do is download them directly on your phone, on your Google or Apple Wallet, which I think after using it that is the most convenient option. So I will leave you the link to a video where I explain how to do this. Before going to Japan, I was curious about how to pay there, if you have apps like in China, if you can use cash or you should only use credit card, and I covered everything related to this topic in my first video. So if you have questions about this, you can go check it out there. And a topic related to money I wanted to tell you about is tax-free shopping. In Japan, if you visit with a tourist visa, you can go shopping tax-free, and there are only a few requirements you have to comply with for this. The first one is, as I said, that you have a tourist visa. The second one is that you bring your passport with you so that they can check. And the third one is that you spend at least 5,000 yen. If you comply with these 3 requirements, then you get 10% discount, which is what they normally pay in taxes. And something else you need to know is that everything you buy tax-free is tax-free because you're not supposed to use it in Japan. It's something that you're supposed to open or use for the first time once you've left the country. So everything that you buy tax-free, don't open it and use it in Japan, because at the airport there could be controls where they ask you to show them the receipt and also all the goods you bought to make sure that you bring them outside the country. During our last trip to Japan, we used the luggage transportation system and I found it super convenient, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. This consists on a service where you leave your luggage right before checkout at your hotel, and then the company will take your luggage to your next destination, your next hotel, airport or station. That way you don't have to carry all your luggage with you every time you move, and it makes everything so much easier. So in case you want to know more about this service, I will leave you on the description the links of the companies we checked out online. But at the end what we did was talk with the hotel and they organized everything for us. I think it's better if you talk to the hotel and they have a company with whom they normally work, because they will take care of everything and you know that it will go well. As you probably know, Japan has a high earthquake risk, so I think if you're traveling there, you have to be prepared and know where to find information if something like this happens, to know what to do or where to go. So I will leave you on the description the links to all the sites where you could find information if something like this happened, hopefully not, and also the links and names of apps and sites where you can check live if there is any earthquakes in the area where you are. So this was all. Thank you for watching, and if the video was useful and you liked it, please don't forget to subscribe, like and comment the video so that I can reach more people. I will also leave you the link to all the different videos that I've made about Japan. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon!